This is the Rutland Town Select Board, and this is our bi-weekly meeting. Welcome all. We have Select Board member Don Chaffee, and where did she go? Sharon Russell, and I'm Mary Ashcroft. We're going to be hopping around with a number of things this evening. Welcome all for coming. And what we're going to try and do first is go right into the presentation from the John Flatley Company. And I noticed that we have two representatives from the company who are all set and ready to give us your presentation, right? Doug?
Great. I'm going to hit share screen, but I am Doug Richardson. I'm Vice President of Planning and Acquisitions, and with me is Kevin Walker. I'm nervous. Kevin Walker. He's Vice President of Construction and Engineering.
Okay.
We've only worked together for about 7-8 months.
Yeah, exactly.
You should have name tags, you know.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to share a slide. Can everyone see that?
No.
Oh, can they see that?
Yep, they should be able to.
I'm screen sharing. Good.
I'm not sure. Sorry.
I can see it, but we got a pretty poor audio connection, really.
That's interesting. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah,
Not
we've got,
that
well, not see us, you would see a screen share of a slide presentation.
Sorry.
We'll try this one more time.
Joe DiNardo, one of our select board members, has joined us.
Here we go. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear
Much
you.
better
I
audio.
Okay, and can you see the presentation on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so welcome. Thank you for having us here this evening. As I said, Doug Richardson and Kevin Walker from the John Flatley Company. We thank the Select Board for allowing us to come in and present our proposal. The John Flatley Company is a New England family-owned business since 1957. John's father was a real estate developer in the New England area, multiple projects, including hotels, multifamily residential, and retail centers. John himself has been handling his company since 1986. He owns, operates, and manages office buildings, research and development complexes, retail shopping centers, and apartment communities throughout New England. We are in an expansion program where we have projects happening in all 6 New England states. The company itself is very focused on unrivaled on-site management. They are actual employees of the company, which we'll get into in a later slide, but there's no third-party management. They're actual employees. We look at these as communities, not just apartment buildings. They are a long-term ownership and management, so these are not a build to sell that someone constructs a facility, brings the occupancy up, and then sells it to a national firm. This is an example of a project we did just south of Boston in Quincy, Massachusetts. It has 500 units in 6 buildings. It's called Elevation. We do a mix of 1-bedroom studio and 2-bedroom units. And typical in our communities are a clubhouse with, it's very amenity rich with health club and business centers and outdoor pool, as well as areas for people to socialize and congregate. I'll get into that in a couple of the slides. This is an example in Nashua, New Hampshire. This is another project that's 500 units. All of the communities have a community garden, as you can see in the lower left-hand picture. Those are for the residents that they do both vegetables and floral. We also have walking trails. So Nashua, Kevin, what is it, 3.5?
About 2.5 miles.
Of walking trails on site. So, we get a lot of use from the residents as well as people who work. This site actually has some R&D and office buildings on site also. This project is Gilbert Crossing in Merrimack, New Hampshire. How many, 250?
These are 240 units.
240 units. Again, our communities have a tennis court. We'll do a small putting green, but all the other amenities that I described are in all of these complexes. Here's a typical clubhouse. So there's an area with pool table. There's a TV area for people to watch events. People can actually sign up for some of these areas. We have a business center. We have a health club in the building with locker facilities and showers. We have the pool as well as the tennis court and some of the other amenities. This shows the actual project site where we're looking to develop. It's on Middle Street, just off of Route 7. I'm going to jump over to here. The shaded area is the entire parcel. The yellow area is where we're proposing to do the actual disturbance and development. The entire parcel is 182 acres. We're looking at approximately 14 acres. So 92% of this site will be undisturbed. We typically go with a 4-story, as you see in the previous pictures. It's a 4-story, 52-unit building. So there would be 5 buildings, 260 units, and 400 parking spaces. It's about 1.5 spaces per unit. The reason why is the mix of 1 bedroom and studio. We actually have about half or slightly over half of the units are 1 bedroom or studio. So with that, we have a very low population of school-aged children, typically about 8% of the total units, because our product is really market rate and geared towards empty nesters and young professionals. So we have a very great occupancy, and that's typically the demographic that we have in our projects. Here's an example of the 52-unit building. We have balconies. The units themselves we'll get into in the next slide, but the building itself is of a New England character. Here's the typical layouts for both 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. They range from about 800 square feet to just over 1,000 square feet. Here's some images of the actual recent units. It's a very clean, bright palette to allow people to customize their apartment with their decoration. Very large windows to let in natural light, granite countertops, European cabinets, stainless steel appliances, the vinyl luxury tile floor, which is great for durability. In terms of the employees that I described earlier, we anticipate 10 full-time positions here in Rutland. There would be a property manager and an assistant property manager, 2 leasing representatives. We also have a full-time events coordinator for the clubhouse. We do a lot of activities with the residents. They do a lot of events. We also, as we'll get into another slide ahead, we work with a lot of the local entertainment in order to coordinate some of these events for the residents. There are 2 days.
I don't know about you guys, but I've lost audio on this.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear?
Yeah, Doug, we can hear you fine. I'm not sure
Okay.
where it cut out, but yeah, you've been okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Video either, still.
We have 2 day porters that handle, ongoing cleaning of the public areas in the clubhouse, as well as 3 on-site maintenance technicians. They handle any day-to-day issues as well as prepping the apartments for occupancy. We anticipate about 150 local construction jobs. We are our own construction manager, so all of the subcontractors would be local hire. Health and safety is very important for our community. The buildings will be 100% equipped with fire sprinkler as well as a fire alarm system. There are elevators in all the buildings and they are sized to accommodate both stretchers and wheelchairs. And also, especially in the last year, but we've always had fresh air circulation that runs into the public spaces and the units. The buildings are built very energy efficient. So there's a fan unit that runs in one of the bathrooms that's constantly bringing fresh air from the common areas into the units, as well as in the air circulation within the units themselves. In terms of sustainable initiatives, we have electric car charging stations that's becoming very prominent now on the sites. We use 100% LED efficient lighting.
The audio's gone again.
We do solar powered trash compactors and we're very focused on reducing our carbon footprint. One of the sayings that the owner of the company likes to reference is activity begets activity. So the operating expenses of the property go directly back into the community. We have a lot of opportunity for local businesses. The most prominent would be landscapers, snow plowers, in the day-to-day maintenance. But we also hire plumbers and painters for ongoing maintenance and turnover of the apartments when people move out. A project like this will enhance Rutland, the town of Rutland's full-time population. Very good for local restaurants and stores, also providing a market rate type of facility that is to enhance the young population who are working in the area. It's a thoughtful unit mix, as I said. They're 1 and 2 bedroom, but primarily 1 bedroom. So we have a lot of young professionals there. I know that both the hospital and the ski area, which is now 4 Seasons, have a lot of employees that come into the area. It's a boost, like I said, for the corridor retail. And again, at the clubhouse, we hold regular community events. So we would bring in local entertainment. We also do catering as well as food trucks. So that would be the end of the presentation if anyone has any questions.
I have a number of questions, but Doug, would
Let's
you?
go ahead, Don. We'll start with select board members first.
Thank you, Mary. What? Doug, my name is Don Chaffee. Glad to meet you here virtually.
Very nice to meet you.
I offer my handshake. How many 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom did you say? I didn't, it was 260 altogether, but what was the breakdown?
There's 28 1 bedroom and studios and 24 2 bedroom per building. So it's 140 total 1 bedroom and studios and 120 2 bedroom.
Okay, and the 122 bedrooms, you mentioned a figure of 8% with children, occupancy with children.
Well, we would take the entire 260, apply the 8%. So we're looking at about 22 to 24 K through 12 students. And that is from actual data from our other apartment complexes that we own and manage.
That's actually one of our higher numbers. We've got a similar development in Merrimack, New Hampshire. The number of students there, the percentage of students is down around like 2.5%. Nashua, obviously more of an urban setting, is 8%. So 8% of the total number of units would be the max. I would suspect be the maximum number of students you would have.
Well, this is based on the demographics and the socioeconomics of the other two areas that you have. But for Rutland particularly, I mean, do you have a limitation? Because if you have 120 two-bedroom apartments, that's the potential for a lot more than 22 or 24 kids, potentially. I'm not, using your statistics that you have from other areas, but we don't know what Rutland is going to produce, do we?
Well, we have 4 other locations that we're using for the data, not just 2. They range from populations very similar to Rutland and the Rutland area. We have one in Somersworth, New Hampshire, that has very similar size. And there's no restriction on it. It's just that's what we have found historically based on the occupancy.
Mary, I have more questions, but I think I'd like to defer and let other select board members chime in. So.
Okay, thanks, Don. Sharon, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time, Mary.
Okay, just a reminder too that the Act 250 process will be diving deeply into many of these questions. So I'm sure we'll hear much more detail. Joe DiNardo.
I have, just one, Mary, and that is the upside of this, that the presentation focused on is really good, but I want to know, what are the downsides? Do they have any data on some of the downsides for communities?
Trying to understand what you mean by downside. We're doing a very low impact design. Traffic, which all of this will be done through the Act 250 process. Traffic is pretty low for this type of a development. It's not a peak Saturday noontime like you'd have in this corridor with all the retail. It's more of a morning commute to work and an evening return home. Some of the other items like police and fire, we most certainly will go through that process with Act 250. Meet with also local departments such as DPW. This is really a very preliminary presentation to show you our intent of what we want to do here, but we most certainly will work with all of the required departments as our next step.
Yeah, I think what I was referring to is, what problems have you run into or issues with communities that are the negative side of your building? No project is 100% on the plus side. There's always some negatives. So, and I appreciate the good side of it. I just want to know if you've had any negative sides that have come out in these type of projects. And in referring to the traffic, you say it's going to be morning going to work and evening coming home, but we do have Saturdays and Sundays, and you've got 260 apartments, and those people aren't staying in their apartments all day. So the traffic issue, I think, is going to be one of your major hurdles with that corridor if you rent all of these places out.
Yeah, we will engage with a first-class traffic engineer. We will do the proper traffic counts and study, and that will all be reviewed by state level for an Act 250 in Vermont DOT.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
John Paul, are you on?
He did not join.
Okay. So Don, I guess it's back to you.
Yes, Doug, this may seem like I don't know, a probative, probative question, but my first inkling when this was proposed in our area was to ask you why a small community of 40 some odd hundred people would be selected by you for this magnitude of a residential project. Could you tell us, or is it that too much proprietary information?
No, it's fine. As I mentioned a couple minutes earlier, Somersworth, New Hampshire is a good example of a similar population, major medical center as an employer, a county seat, so to be, is what Rutland is. So also, there really is not a large inventory of this type of project available to your residents. So, it is something that we feel is the ability to allow Rutland and the town of Rutland to attract and retain, professionals who would be working in this area, including the medical field. And even, as you say, there's a four-season destination that this area has become that also has a need for housing.
Well, that would seem logical, except that it's always been my impression, like you said, that you're looking at the medical establishment that we have, and a really good one here in the Rutland Regional Medical Center. But usually residential development is driven by expansion in other areas. So I would assume that most of the people that live here have some place to live right now. So notwithstanding any expansion plans in the areas that you're talking about, where are the people going to come from that are going to occupy the buildings? Is that new construction, new commerce, new industry, or just relocation of existing people?
Well, Rutland has gone through retail growth in your corridor, within the last 10, 15 years. Population has been growing, as well as, I'm sure Rutland, much as some of the other places we've located, want to be able to retain the young population and keep them from moving out. In fact, there's a lot of articles right now that Vermont as a state is very proactive in getting people to come here, including remote work, and to be able to take residence in this area.
Right. Well, I agree with you, but I don't think people move here because there's housing. They move here because there's jobs, and then because there's jobs, they get one and they need the housing. But I don't know which one is the chicken and which one is the egg. Do you have a vacancy rate on your other properties? What's your vacancy rate, generally speaking?
This is my favorite question. It's about 0.
We have a waiting list.
We have a waiting list in 144 units in Somersworth. We have a waiting list on 584 units in Nashua. A waiting list on, matter of fact, we're attempting to build 2 more apartments in Merrimack. That 204 units is filled, and there's another one. Oh,
right.
You know what? We have one in Quincy, Mass, and the occupancy rate there, that's I think right around 95%. There's 492 units, and it's around 95%.
Well, that speaks very well of the quality of your projects, obviously.
You're welcome to reach out to those properties and verify that, because with the amenities and the service that we do with the employees, that's what differentiates it from just a generic grouping of apartment buildings.
Right.
Let me hop in here if I could, Don, please.
Well, you certainly can.
Thank you, Don. We're now about 25 minutes into our meeting, and I know we have quite a bit of other business on our agenda. Can you tell me where you are with the Act 250 process and when you expect to be filing your application?
We have just retained a local engineer in the town of Rutland, as well as legal counsel. They are going to commence on putting together the package. Also, with the weather turning to spring, we need another couple of weeks of warmth to be able to get out and do some effective surveys and investigation of the site, which we're now scheduled.
Yeah, I noticed some flagging tape, so some surveying has happened down there.
Yep.
Okay, so any timeline for when you think the Act 250 application might be filed?
I'd say within the next 90 days
Okay,
for filing. We've got to put it together.
yeah. I would invite you to stay in touch and
Absolutely.
with Bill Sweet, who's our administrative assistant to the select board. He can put you in touch with all of our local municipal services and help you make the connection, as I'm sure your local attorney and your local engineer will as well. But we're happy to make our department heads available to talk with you and to give you the information that you need on that.
We appreciate how welcome the town of Rutland is, as well as the ability to allow us to work with the different groups. We really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, could I add, I'd just like to make 2 suggestions, if I might, to
Go ahead.
Doug. Well, first of all, and don't take this wrong, Doug, because you're new to the area, but as you can see, we're a very, very proud town. And I think we're a very well-run town, and we welcome economic development, but our name is Rutland Town, and there may not be others that feel the same way I do, but there is a very big distinction between Rutland and Rutland Town, because Rutland is a city. So I would appreciate it if you would, when you refer to us publicly at any time, that you refer to us as our town name is Rutland Town.
Yes.
And the second thing, I would encourage you to speak with the with Rutland City. I would encourage you to speak with the Rutland City fire chief specifically about your project and what may be possible there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because they are a full-time department. They have a ladder truck, and they have contracts with other large concerns in Rutland Town that gives first response. So you may find that will affect your insurance rates quite positively.
Most appreciated. Thank you, Don.
Okay. Any
Thank you,
other
Mary.
last from select board members? Okay. Sharon?
Nope, I'm fine.
I think you've done this before, Doug, but could you make your slideshow available to Bill so that we can have Sharon access it so she can see what she wasn't able to see?
Absolutely. We'll send a copy to Bill first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. I think there's a question or a comment from, is it Greg Cox?
No, Mary, I'm listening in. I'm interested as a representative of the Vermont Farmers Food Center, and I have spoken with Doug recently. So we'll just keep on the sidelines and see what develops.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll make a connection with the owner of the company with you, Greg.
Great. Thank you very much, Doug.
Okay,
Mary.
so thank you, Doug and Kevin, and I'm sure we're going to be talking with you quite a bit in the future. So let's keep the communication going. Thank you.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, so just briefly, we'll go back up to the top of the order. Bill, it would be okay if you, there we go. Andres, we do want to get to you, but let's start first with a reminder that the orders are here. This town treasurer has prepared them. So select board members, please stop in, review and sign. We have select board minutes from January 16th. Have you had a chance to review them? And would someone like to make a motion?
I'd move that we accept the minutes from the March 16th meeting.
All right, motion's made. Is there a second?
Mary, do you allow for omissions and corrections, or is it not
Well,
part of your?
let's get the motion seconded and then we can go into that.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Okay, now, are there any additions, deletions, corrections?
Well, yeah, I've got a couple, and
Okay.
and I don't mean to belabor this because I understand we've been through this before, Mary, and I'm fully aware that this is not a verbatim. Nor is it supposed to
Correct.
be a
So-
verbatim copy of the meeting. But when I feel, as one select board member, that comments that I've made are really germane to the subject, I would like them included in the minutes, as other members may as well. And I've noticed in these minutes that other members' comments are there, but some of mine are not. So
Okay, can you direct us to page, Don?
on page 3, in the new business about the Diamond Run Mall, on number 3, I asked specifically if pre-leasing had been done of Mr. Anthony, and his reply was yes. And my follow-up comment was that I thought that that was a very positive sign, and it would be a positive sign for the general economy of Rutland, and that the Rutland region would be really happy to know this. And that all of that was left out. So that's one. The second one was on page 4. In the request for additional office help, the number 5, when you commented, Mary, quite appropriately, that the records are being recorded in the day book with its legal recognition, I understood that, but I was talking not specifically about the legal recognition, but the impact that it would have on the compilation of the grand list and the filing times for that. And I would, and also I mentioned that there are COVID-related costs in our incoming funds that might be applicable to this, which you recognized as well. And those comments of mine were not in there. That's number 2. And the last one is over on the last page, 9. After we emerged from executive session and we authorized the reorganization of the police department, I gladly seconded the motion. I made quite an emotional statement about the explanation as to why deficit funding would be appropriate in this case, not only for practical reasons, but I also commented on the quality and the character of the members of our department. And I felt those comments were very germane and appropriate to the discussion that we had. And I would like them included. And that's it. And I would like to make it I'd like to make it very clear that this isn't a criticism of Bill Sweet's accomplishments in the minutes, because there's a lot of stuff going on, but.
Okay, Don, I have added as best I can.
Okay, that's fine.
Selection as you've been talking. So can we, with those amendments, can we now approve the minutes, please? Anybody else have any changes? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Sharon?
I said aye.
That's okay. So the minutes have been approved. Thank you. Do we have any members of the public who are not on the agenda or not here for any other purpose that is on the agenda? Any members of the public who wish to be heard? Okay, so let's go down to new
Mary?
business. Sorry, yes?
I didn't see anything on the agenda, but Kyle Mason is with us this evening. and he is our county forester who has
Yes.
given us a report on the Mead and McCoon lots in West Rutland. And I didn't know if you wanted to pull him from the floor as someone from the floor, or if you had some other spot in the agenda for him.
I think we will take Kyle right after we hear from Andres.
Okay.
Thanks, Byron, for the reminder. All right, Andres, what have you got for us? Andres Teresa is our consultant on stormwater issues.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you virtually here. So I'm always here with good news, right? Whenever I show up, people cringe. No. I'm here to give the board an update on the stormwater MS4 permitting here. We have a big, we've been working kind of on a big deadline here. We have April 1st. We are going to be submitting the phosphorus control plan to the state and on behalf of the town. And this is a plan to control phosphorus from municipal owned lands. And this is a plan that's required under the town's municipal separate storm sewer permit, MS4 permit, that I've talked to the board several times about. We've talked about this plan in the past, and earlier this year when the pandemic happened, we had to make some critical decisions in terms of priorities for the town for this upcoming year. And this was the thing that I suggested as top priority because it's kind of it's one of these big milestones in terms of the different requirements under this MS4 permit. So essentially this plan is complete now in draft, and we would be, we've been working with Byron on that plan, and Bill, we sent them a draft. I know they haven't had a whole lot of time to look it over, but what I would recommend to the board is that we go ahead and submit this on time. And the state is going to be reviewing these things. We probably won't hear from them for a while, but they potentially could have comments on it, and we can address those comments. And really, these are called living documents, meaning these plans are intended to be flexible, and they're intended to change year to year, and that's okay, and that will happen. And that's kind of how the other big plan that the town has in place, and that the town has had in place for a few years, is the flow restoration plan. So that was, that's the same kind of thing. It's a living document. And the phosphorus control plan really overlaps quite a bit with the flow plan. And in a sense that all of the projects that are in the flow plan are also in the phosphorus control plan, because the projects can really be credited towards both programs. So the simplest way to describe it is it's another way to basically account for all of the phosphorus control that's going to be realized by implementing these projects. In addition to these projects, structural kind of projects, ponds, basins, bioretention area, those kind of things. There's other things that are documented in that plan in terms of the road erosion inventory that Byron's been working on. The different kind of good housekeeping practices that the town does. So all that is in the plan, and it's a kind of a thick. Well, the plan itself isn't that long, but there are several attachments to it, and that's one big piece. Okay, so maybe before I stop, maybe I should just say the other pieces to this. There's a notice of intent basically that's submitted, and actually there's two forms. There's a notice of intent, and then there's like an annual certification kind of a form. And both of those forms do need board signature, and I would send those in with the phosphorus control plan. So I've sent those to Bill, hopefully to get the board signature when I submit the draft phosphorus control plan on the 1st. I would submit those forms at the same time. One of the key things that's listed on that form is the potential to include some of the existing stormwater permits that the town currently manages roll those into the MS4 permit. And so those are Curtis Crossing, not Windmere. Help me, Byron. It's been a long day here. The other one that begins with a W, I can look it up.
Winridge.
Winridge and the Rutland Town Garage. And so there's really no drawbacks to doing this. This is actually going to save the town money because essentially it's going to waive you of your annual fees. And it's also going to cut the paperwork, the administrative burden, because those projects will no longer be separate stormwater permits. They'll be rolled into the MS4 permit, and you'll just report on them every year when you report on, your MS4 reporting to the state. So I don't really see any drawbacks in that. So I would suggest that the board, approve that and go forward with that as part of this.
So a question for Bill and Byron. Did you have a chance to look at the attachments which are being submitted along with the certificates that we have to sign?
I have not thoroughly read them. There's probably a lot of technical stuff there that maybe I'm not going to quite wrap my head around, at the first reading. So it's going to take me a little bit to understand all of that. But, I have a lot of confidence in Andres and the people that I have met in his organization. And I don't think they're going to do anything to us that's going to cost us a lot of money. I would have a question for Andres. Any future operational stormwater permits that may come along as part of projects that take place in Northwood Park, for instance, can they, at the appropriate time, can they also be rolled into that stormwater permit?
I think, yes, I think the answer is yes. I think they would, you would still have to, and if I'm wrong about this, I'll double check anyway, because it's a good question, but I think that you would still get issued a separate permit, and then you would have the ability after that permit's issued to then roll it into the MS.
I guess that's what I would understand.
Yep.
Bill, any comments from your end?
I echo what Byron has said. I don't have any concerns. I have not gone through all of the documents line by line, but I do have the copies of them all. But he seems pretty thorough, and I think we're going to be in good shape with his recommendations. Okay.
So if select board members will look at item number 2, it's 3 pages long. It's in your packet for tonight. It looks like there's 2 places for a town official to sign. And I would entertain a motion to approve this submittal and to authorize me to sign on behalf of the select board.
So moved.
So moved.
Motions
I won't
made
fight you.
by Joe, seconded by Don. Any discussion or questions?
Just a question, Mary, of Andres. Good to see you again, Andres. It's
You
been
too,
a while.
Yeah.
Do you share information with the remaining part of the Moon Book project, or is all of your information just very specific to Rutland Town's participation in this?
Oh, in terms of, are we doing anything outside of the town but within Moonbrook? Within the city, are you saying?
Yeah, combination pond
Right.
specifically.
We developed the other portion of the flow
Boy,
restoration plan. For the flow restoration plan for Moonbrook. It was done for Nancy McGuire at the district, but it's a plan for the city. Yep. And if I may, actually, there is one other thing that I was going to bring to the board about some potential grant funding, and this is related, kind of related. This made me think of it, Don. Jim Pease approached Byron and I about the possibility of some available grant funding to complete a master plan, stormwater master plan in the town portion of Tenny Brook. And that's a pretty small area because most of it is in the city or in Mendon. We actually did the master plan for Tenny Brook too, but this was a number of years ago now, but we were focusing on the city portion of it. You know, that is, I guess, maybe the last remaining part of town where now there isn't going to be some kind of a master plan, but it's a pretty small area. And, you know, I don't know, I always would recommend trying to say yes to grant funding, but if you want my recommendation on this one, I'm a little split because the town is really going to have their hands full dealing with the regulated area. That is not currently a regulated area. It may very well be in the future because Tenny Brook is kind of on the cusp of falling into the same trap of, you know, Moonbrook, but it's not yet. And so I think there's two arguments. One is, you know, you better be proactive now to try to fix it so it doesn't kind of fall into worse repair. But I think the flip side is, you know, you might want to focus all your efforts on, you know, attacking the project list, which is now, you know, in Moonbrook, which is really kind of the top priority time-wise because you're kind of under this schedule to continue to make progress.
Right. So let me cut in here and say what we've got a motion on the floor, and it relates to the submittal of the phosphorus control plan and the municipal separate storm sewer system, the MS4. So we should deal with that right now. Any more comments related to the motion? If not, all in favor of approving these submittals and authorizing me to sign for the board, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. So Andres, on the what you were just referring to, is there information you can supply to Bill and Byron and the select board on grants that are available and the advisability of applying for them at this point?
I can't, well, Byron, you were going to say.
Okay.
Preliminary to grant opportunities as far as handling projects, both through the road erosion inventory and the MS4, or are you referring to grant monies that may help out with Tenny Brook?
No, just the Tenny Brook that Andres raised.
Well, we both kind of hashed that over back and forth and looked at pros and cons of it. And right now, there is no declared impairment on the Tenny Brook. They've taken out the Dunkley Pond, and I think there's a little more work there that has to be done. But the state has to determine if there's an impairment there and what the impairment is, whether it's temperature or whether it's stormwater, or whether or if there is a temperature problem, is the temperature related to stormwater? I think this is a few years down the road, and I think it's better if we focus our efforts and our monies and our grant opportunities and take care of our MS4 obligations as well as our road erosion inventory obligations, because both of those have definite deadlines that we have to meet.
Okay. Well, this is quite a bit of work right here. So I think we dive into this and do what we can. Okay, any other questions for Andres, or Andres, anything else you would like to make us aware of?
That was the highlight.
Okay, well, great to see you as always. Keep us informed as you do, and we'll visit with you again soon, I'm sure.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andres.
Okay, Kyle Mason, you're our forester. You've been helping out with our forest management plan. What do we need to know and what can we help you with?
Hi, so I was asked to develop these plans a while ago, and I inventoried them a long time ago and had hoped to meet with Byron and Bill at some point, and then COVID hit, and all of a sudden my department didn't allow me to do that. And so we applied for an extension and received it, but that extension is coming to an end. So these are two properties that are currently enrolled in the current use program, and are needing to be submitted by April 1st. So I am just looking to get them approved so we can do that. Has anyone received, I've given a copy to Byron and Bill. I don't know if anyone else has seen them, or I can describe basically what they cover if you would like.
I have not seen them, so why don't you give us an overview, please?
Sure. So there's two properties. One known as the McCune lot. It was harvested back in 2011. There are a variety of stands out there, but my recommendation was basically to allow the stands to grow. The harvest just happened. Stocking levels are low, so it's time to allow those stands to recover, essentially. There was a little, Byron and I talked a little bit about the fact that there's a little bit of ash stocking in some of the stands. It's very, and the thought that we may want to try to go after them before the emerald ash borer gets them. Emerald ash borer is currently in West Rutland, so it's, which is also where these properties are. So it's right in the infestation zone. The problem is that the amount of volume of ash out there is very low. And whether or not it could be harvested economically at all is currently a question. The plan right now says to not harvest them and to monitor the site and keep an eye on it, and basically to explore options. Byron is going to look into a few folks that may be interested in potentially grabbing the ash while it's still around, but it's going to be tough. The access is really, you have to drive a long ways up a power line to get to it, and there's approximately, I estimate approximately like 2 truckloads of ash up there, so it's not a lot. The other lot is known as the Mead lot. That one is a little closer. They're pretty close to each other. They share the same access essentially. And that parcel was also harvested back in 2011. There's 2 stands there. One stand is a hardwood stand that I was recommending no harvesting in for at least this 10-year management cycle. It was harvested in 2011, and there's, oops, sorry, did someone say something?
No, keep going. Yeah.
It was harvested in 2011, and stockings are optimal to allow the trees that are currently on site to increase in value. The other stand, stand 1, is a pine stand. It was a field. If you rewind the clock 80, 100 years ago or so, it was a field that was abandoned. And pine is really good at reclaiming abandoned land. So the soils want to support hardwoods, but there's currently pine growing there. There was some question whether it was acting as a deer winter yard in the previous forest management plan. And Doug Blodgett, who was the state biologist at the time, had recommended in the 2011 harvest, the attempt was called a strip cut, which is essentially cutting like a line through the forest. He was under the impression that it would probably or potentially regenerate some more pine so the site could continue as a deer wintering yard. But being that they're hardwood soils, that attempt was not successful. It grew back to a pretty undesirable mix of hardwoods, because they were cut on a north to south aspect, so they don't get as much sunlight as like an east to west aspect. So it grew a lot of trees that can handle a lot of shade. Things like beech and striped maple. There's a few spots where more desirable regeneration came in, but for the most part, I wouldn't view it as a successful attempt there. And when you look at the pine as a whole on that stand, it's 20 to 30 inches in diameter. It's large, and it's definitely reached financial maturity and ready to be harvested. This is the one area I was recommending work to be done, was in this one stand to essentially regenerate the site by removing the pine and restore it back to its natural hardwood state.
Okay. And that's all in your forest management plan that's going into the state if we approve.
Correct.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion. Joe, were you about to make one?
I was. I just had to make sure I wasn't unmuting. Yes, I would make a motion that we accept the forest management plan for those 2 lots as presented.
Second.
Okay. And Sharon is seconded. Any questions from the select board to Kyle?
I have just one, Kyle. How soon do you think that pine should be harvested?
Well, and the way current use works is you set a date and it's kind of establishes the middle of a 7-year window. So the current date that the plan I wrote has it in at 2025, which gives it a window of 2022 to 2028 to be harvested. And
Okay.
what there is a little bit of oak and some other hardwoods that would make desirable seed sources. And those would be left as a seed source essentially. And so the trick is to try to time it so that you're harvesting it when the seed source is at its optimal. So it doesn't, trees don't put out the same amount of seed every year. Oak, for example, puts out a large mast year every 2 years. And so timing it to try to get it so that you're harvesting it right before the seeds of the most desirable trees land is what you would want to do out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it
but
does.
how about timing it to the market?
That is tougher, actually.
Yeah.
Markets can change. Like, the current markets that are here today could be different tomorrow. You certainly, that 7-year window lets you play with that for sure. But yeah, that's tougher. I mean, trying to predict markets, if you can do that, you should be in the business of forestry. Because
Joe, did you have something else?
No, it's just that I understand because, our farm, as with you, Mary, it's in the current use. So I guess a good plan would be to kind of keep an eye on the oak seed production, say this year, next year, and get a feel for when that 2-year cycle is, and then just do the cutting kind of on that schedule.
yeah, it's not perfect every other year. And there's environmental factors that take, oaks will be it takes 2 years to develop an acorn. So 1 year they'll be there, and then you have a drought and the tree will abort them. It's tricky to do, but that would be the thing to try to time.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've got a pretty good window to work with. So that's what I was just wondering. I didn't know if it was something we needed to do this summer, or get somebody up there and put it out to bid, or however we decide to manage it. We don't have to beat it to death tonight, but that'll give us an idea of what to do.
Yeah, no, certainly it would want to be marked beforehand, and if you're putting it out to bid, I would mark it and then tally the total volume, and then you would have the volume that everyone would bid on. So it wouldn't definitely be ready this summer, even if we were trying to push it through. It takes time to market and lay out the roads, and then you got to put it out to bid and everything. So,
Okay. So Kyle, are you the person who monitors for the seed production?
I am the county forester, the Rutland County Forester. So my role in general is as administrator of the current use program in Rutland County. But since this program is enrolled in current use, I can't administer myself. So Kari, who's the Bennington County Forester, will be the one approving this plan after it's submitted. Any town is allowed to ask a county forester for assistance in managing property that they own. There's a statute that allows, which is the whole reason why when I was asked to do this, I said yes.
Okay. I remember that. Thank you. Sharon, did you have something?
No.
Okay, John Paul has joined us. JP, do you have anything?
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, Don, are you set?
Yes, I am, Mary.
All right, thanks. So the motion is to approve the forest management plan for these 2 lots belonging to the town in West Rutland. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kyle. We appreciate your help on that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so back toward the top of the agenda. Bill Sweet, Town Administrative Assistant to the Select Board. What have you got for us?
Oh, we've worked on a few things so far, so let's get through the rest of it. So we'll start with the items that are in the packet. Number 1 is the current meeting schedule and the list of committee agenda items. So that includes all the items that were added up and through the last meeting. I know we have, I believe Mike Rowe has a meeting pending to be approved tonight for rec, and then some other ones we should talk about getting on there. Number 2, we have already handled. Number 3, 3, 4, and 5 are all for existing new business items. Number 6, Byron emailed out the paving bids. That's also for new business item. Number 7 is the list of select board committee assignments. Those were all the ones that were done, and those are posted. So that every board member has those, and they're posted here at the office, and each of the department heads received a copy of them as well. The last item in the packet is a copy of the state statute. We were talking at the last meeting. We didn't know about the term for the town health officer. And as it turns out, it is 3 years, and we appointed John Paul in August of 2018. So his appointment is up August of this year. So that was a little statute on that.
Okay. So in your tickle file, could you make a note that we should discuss his reappointment sometime in July of this year?
I do have a calendar reminder for that, yes.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so just to quickly look at what we have in the packet, I guess item number 3 is, do we have any additional information? This is roughly how much the town might receive, $406,000. Should the money come through as anticipated from the federal COVID Relief Act. Any more information on that, or do we just put this aside and see what happens in 2 weeks?
That was the most current information I have available.
Okay, all right. So number 4, this is the tax map maintenance proposal. Is Howard, yes, Howard has joined us tonight. And this is, you'll recall at our last meeting, we were told that the preparer of our tax maps is no longer providing this service. And this information was provided for a firm in Littleton, New Hampshire. And there is a contract proposal in a couple of parts. The first is the basic map and GIS maintenance service of $2,450. And then there's an add-on of $15 per building to go a bit further. I think the money that we have in the budget is for the first rather than the second, right? So Bill, what can you tell us about this proposal?
We have the budget for it to have the map maintenance done this year, and their proposal to do additional work in terms of putting lister information online is very intriguing. I've gone through a couple of towns, looked at the information. Howard has also. It's not something we have specifically budgeted for this coming year, but I think we could certainly have him in to talk with the board. He's more than willing to meet remotely and talk with the board about some of the benefits of this. There are actually quite a few towns around us that are using this information, putting it online. It's already publicly accessible information, It just saves people a trip into the office. So very, very interesting program he has. There's a yearly maintenance fee and a initial setup fee. But we can discuss that for maybe the next budget year. But it looks like it'd be a good benefit for us to get involved with.
So when would we be preparing the tax maps for 2021? Is this something we need to do right now?
If we approve this, we're gonna get started pretty soon. I think Howard just joined in, so there you go.
Hi, Howard. What can you tell us?
Hi, Mary. Good. Yeah, he's going to be coming in a few weeks to get the copies of the survey plats and all of the grand list information and put the maps together the same way that Dean Russell used to. He said he would do them exactly the same way Dean Russell did for this year at the same price and everything to get us off and rolling. And then, like Bill said, we have that other option of having those maps all put online if we want to go that way. And it's quite an impressive system that he has.
Okay, and so what's before us? If we just want to maintain what we have right now within the budget that we have, that would be the $2,450 proposal.
I believe that's correct. Same as last year, Bill.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Any questions of either Bill or Howard? This is item number 4 in your packet. Is there any motion to accept?
Yes, Mary, I'll make a motion that we accept the tax map maintenance proposal from Cartographic Associates as presented for this year, 2450.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. I'm looking at the last page, item number 2, and I'm proposing that we leave the first sentence, which says the client shall pay $24.50 for the map GIS maintenance services, and then take out the rest, which refers to the $15 per building charge. All right.
Okay, well, my motion was simply for 2450, so that excludes everything else in and of
Okay.
itself.
So
Unless you
we're
would like an
consistent.
amendment.
No, I'm taking out the thing that was over and above the 2450. So I think
Okay.
we're on the same page now.
How about the signature, Mary? Would you like the signature authority in that motion as well?
No, thank you. It looks like there are 4 signature lines, so we can all sign. Okay.
Okay.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? We're approving our tax map maintenance contract for the year. If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Fireworks. All right, we have number 5, which is the North Star Fireworks letter. I think we locked in, okay, the July 4th, which is the message we sent to them last week. And the cost of the fireworks this year is $7,500.
I'd move to accept this contract, please.
Okay, motion's made to accept and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, you've approved the fireworks for the 4th of July. Thank you. And that's, oh, sorry, I do need a motion to authorize me to sign on behalf of the board on the fireworks contract.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. All right. I think the rest of the things are informational. Anything else, Bill? Any questions that you might have of Bill Sweet, our town administrative assistant? Okay, moving on. Kari Clark, town clerk and treasurer.
Good evening. Two quick things. One is about dogs and one is about our lot distribution, our 1% money. Quickly on that, really, we got that payment in February and it is right on point. So there should be no worries as of yet. We have not seen a decrease in the lot distribution, the 1% money for Rutland Town. And then for the dogs, I just wanted to remind everyone that has a dog in Rutland Town that the due date for registration is April 1st, which is right around the corner. And along with that, we have received many registrations, but a couple reminders. As just like last year, we're accepting payment through the mail and our drop box. The prices have not changed. It's $9 and $13. And a lot of people, if they're not sure if they registered their dog last year, just give the office a call because they're assuming that they did register last year, especially during COVID. And some people are mistaken and they'll have to fill out a brand new form. Our files kind of, the way the program works, it starts fresh every year. So we will not have your dog in the program if you didn't register last year. And we're seeing a lot of that. So if you just have a question, give the office a call and we'll answer the question for you. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for the reminder on the dog. I got to get my dog registered. Okay. Any questions for our town clerk and treasurer? If not, moving on. Barbara Noyes-Pulling, Town Planning Commission Chair.
Yes, hi, good evening.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. The Town Planning Commission meets Thursday night. We have a public hearing on the Velco subdivision there on Post Road and Route 7 North. We also are going to be hearing from the Vermont Transportation Board and John Zacconi on helipads and such, and what our options might be there. So hopefully we'll come out with some ideas from that. Then on the municipal planning grant for the Pocket Park, Mary and I met with GMP last week, several members of that organization and a consultant of theirs. And looks like we'll need to do a new property survey there. And we're also discussing with them an MOA to do what we want to do on that park. And my idea right now is to, in the next few months, meet with a couple of groups of stakeholders. I just wanted to run this by you. I'm thinking of dividing those two groups into one for recreational interests and one for historical. And I think I'll start with the recreation, since that might be a little bit more involved, maybe, on that. We've got a lot of interest with that. GMP wants to be part of that. I've reached out to Trout Unlimited, and one of the members of their board is a town resident, Joe Kraus. I've reached out to Rutland County Audubon, and they are super interested. Marv and Sue Elliott there, and the new president. And of course, there's some other people around the community. There's some neighbors. There's some staff for the town, Mike Rowe and Byron, and the police chief probably. And this is still all in the recreational realm. I reached out to Fish and Wildlife, Vermont Fish and Wildlife, and the person, I spoke to a person who's directly involved right now with creating an Otter Creek trail, a paddling trail. And there'll be, different reaches from Mount Tabor to Lake Champlain. And one of the reaches he wants to do is from Center Rutland Falls to Proctor. So he wants to be part of the group as well. And there may be some state funding that might come out of that as we proceed. So yeah, so I just wanted to let you know, those were my thoughts, just run them by you, see if you had any questions or if you wanted to steer me another way. Then of course, the history stakeholders, we've been in touch with a lot of them when we did the application. And so they're there and they have some definite interest as well.
Okay. Just to add to the recreation group, the local Boy Scout troop, the ones we watch put in their kayaks.
Yes.
Okay. And I have contact information for them if you need it.
Oh, great.
And Byron was very helpful and has information on the surveying that we did, or the specs for surveying when we did for the shared use path, which is underway now. And that information might be useful to you as you're putting together bids for a surveyor to come in and do the pocket park area. So if I haven't sent them on to you, I should do that.
Okay, that would be great. And I'm thinking maybe doing the survey sooner rather than later. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions of our planning commission chair, select board?
Mary, I have one.
Yep.
Barb, have you checked with Forest Parks and Recreation if they get involved with these ventures like our pocket park?
Yeah, I actually started with them, Joe, and got referred to the Otter Creek Trail guy at Fish and Wildlife.
Okay.
But if you want me to keep digging, I certainly will with Forest and Parks.
Yeah, I didn't know if they had they manage the fire warden system, but I don't know what else they do, and I didn't know if they had. But if you started there, then I think if there were some funds or some help, they should have told you.
They should have. Right.
All right, that was just an idea I had.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll make another try.
Okay. John
Mary?
Paul? Nope. Don, anything?
No, I don't have any.
All right, Sharon?
No, fine.
Okay.
Mary?
Thank you, Barbara. Oh, sorry. Somebody just called. Byron.
Byron, yeah. Barbara, do you see any problems or issues from the historical people in regard to maybe doing work of any type in that area of the falls?
That I haven't really delved into yet. One of my next phone calls will be to Historic Preservation, the state office, to ask about that and to see if they want to be on the historical stakeholder group.
Okay.
As we walk through that.
Yeah, I would talk to maybe somebody like Scott Dillon,
Mm-hmm.
the state, and he's the archaeological guy, and I don't know if they would have issues with anything as far as the amount of work that might be able to be done over there.
Right. And as you probably all remember, the Town Planning Commission came out with a report, did a report on what some of the features could be there, recreationally wise, and it's a list of about 20 things. So it covers most of that 3-acre parcel. The ideas that came out of the group that we would like to explore, or probably should explore with our stakeholder groups. So yeah, it's a good point, Byron. Get them involved early.
Just one other little comment.
Yep.
in regards to you, build a group that's looking at making a paddling path along the Otter Creek. That was a concept that was put forward back in the late 60s by your father.
Oh,
And it never went anywhere, but he did put together a group one day. And my brother and I were part of that group, and we put our canoes in at the Hammond Bridge in Pittsburgh and paddled all the way to the fishing access out on Route 73 as part of trying to generate some recognition and whatnot for the Otter Creek and its ability as a paddling path.
oh my, that's great to hear. Let's talk about that a little bit more offline.
Well, let me toss in that Harold has told this story, my late husband, that he opposed that and some of the antics that he pulled too. But we'll let that go. Barbara or Bill or both, could you make sure Don has a copy of what the Planning Commission pulled together? Because that was a pretty comprehensive set of information. Don might be interested in that.
Yeah, I can do that.
Great, thank you. Okay, Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
All right, can you hear me, Bill? Because usually this is when I cut out, just making sure.
Get about 3 sentences, then we lose you, but you're good for now.
Okay, so let's see if I can up my record. Everything's going smoothly. We'll be opening the parks as far as maintenance work in the next week or two, depending on weather, getting in all of our fields ready and just getting it ready for general use that we do in the springtime. So that will start in the next week or two. The only other thing, baseball is moving along, and obviously we will wait for guidance from the governor. The high school sports has started, so we're going to follow along, and we're in meetings and discussions about our teams through the town. We will follow all protocols that will be required from the state like we always do. And then my last thing is I'd like to set up a rec meeting, committee meeting. I'd like to do it on the 13th. I've reached out to.
There he goes. He's gone.
Mike, we can't hear you. And
Well, he's missing in action. Joey, I tried to get a hold of you. Is the 13th okay for you?
Yes, it is, Sharon. I apologize for not getting back to you, but it was midnight when I listened to your voicemail, and then I forgot about you today. Would we be doing that? How will we be doing that meeting? Virtually, like we're doing this?
Yeah, I was going to plan to do the warning for the rec committee meeting for the same information as the board meeting. So yeah, right before that.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay, that's fine with 5:30 on the 13th. It works for me.
Yeah. Okay, me too.
All right.
5:30. Got it.
Back?
Yeah, you're
see,
back now,
Mike,
Mike.
when you cut out, we get it all
I
taken
don't
care of
understand
anyway.
this. I think Sweet's doing it on purpose. For me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
it's all me.
that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Okay.
We already confirmed the 13th at 5:30.
Perfect.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Byron Hathaway, Town Road Commissioner.
Just a couple little things I'd like to mention at first, and then take up the paving bids at your leisure. At your next board meeting, we will have bids in for the Gleason Road culvert replacement. So that's coming up. We started work today on the storage barn. We actually got the tubes in the ground, and hopefully we'll have concrete poured by the end of the week. I did want to mention the road erosion inventory. I'm working with Stephanie Burke from the RPC on that, and it looks like I've got a few things to square away on the inventory. But there again, I'm going to wait till fall before I do that inventory, and hopefully we'll get some partial grant funding from Better Back Roads. And then just one other little thing I'd like to mention in regards to the Mead and McCoon lots. One of the things I noticed on his report was the amount of sugar maple that was in inventory. And what I asked him was if he could report to us approximately the number of taps that may be available there. And if it would be, if there's a large enough number, say 4,000 or 5,000, that would be economically feasible for someone to tap those maples and actually get it down, get the sap down to where they could pick it up and take it. current rates right now are at least $1 a tap. And my thought would be if that could in another few years be a source of steady income that could cover tax obligations and maybe even contribute to costs of maintaining a pocket park or something of that nature. But I just thought I would mention that. We're not at that point yet, but certainly it's something that we will be taking a look at.
Okay. Thank you. That's good information. Paving bids.
I left the actual paving bids themselves with you on your desk, Mary.
Yeah.
If you wanted to read those, you certainly can. I did pull together a synopsis of that and emailed that to the select board. I hope all you had got that along with my recommendation for Fuller Sand and Gravel, their bid.
Okay, so the paving bids, Fuller Sand and Gravel, the hot mix asphalt for the roads in the school parking lot, $62.50 per ton in place. The reclaim, compaction, and grading, $1.35 per square yard. The school sidewalks, $200 per ton in place. The Rutland Town Transfer Station, $62.50 per ton in place. So that's Fuller. Wilk Paving, hot mix asphalt for the roads and school parking lot, $62.68 per ton in place. Reclamation, compaction, and grading, $1.42 per square yard. The school sidewalks, $1.28 per ton. And the Rutland Town Transfer Station, $72.45 per ton in place. And the third bid, Pike Industries, the hot mix asphalt for roads and the parking lot, $69 per ton in place. Reclamation, compaction, and grading, $1.75 per square yard. The school sidewalks, $200 per ton in place. And the Rutland Town Transfer Station, $125 per ton in place. So Byron has summarized all of that in the chart that you have before you. What is your pleasure? Is there a motion?
I'd move to accept the full. I'll second that.
Second.
Okay, was John Paul is moving to approve which contractor? Sorry, that cut out.
Fuller.
Okay. That's the low bidder. And seconded by Joe DiNardo. Is there any discussion?
I have one question for Byron.
Yep.
Are they going to be, you're still planning on doing what was on our schedule for last year plus this year, and they're going to be able to handle that okay for you?
That's correct. That was going to be my point, to make that this bid assumes that you're going to spend last year's $300,000 and the $300,000 that's budgeted for after July 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That was my thoughts, is that we had agreed on doing that.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
I know we had a question at town meeting about falling behind in paving, but this, we just deferred last spring, but we're catching up if we vote these bids. We're for last spring and this coming year as well.
That's correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion to approve the Fuller Sand and Gravel bid, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Do I need to sign anything, Bill? There's no signature place.
I'll put together, if you so desire, I'll put together a contract based on the template that we used 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'll just change the names and whatnot, and I'll have that on your desk for the next meeting.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
So just curious, we didn't go in with Mendon this year on paving. Was there any particular reason why?
The roads are too far apart. You know,
Okay.
what we discovered was, for instance, if we were going to do Meadow Lake Drive and they were going to do Meadow Lake Drive, yeah, we should get together on that and then, you know, put out one contract for Meadow Lake Drive, for instance. You know, where towns share the same road, it does make sense to buddy up together and put out one contract. But when the roads are too far apart and split up, it muddies up the water.
Okay. And next meeting, we'll see the Gleason Road culvert bid, right?
Correct, in the contract for your paving.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further questions for Byron?
Not for
Byron.
Byron, but we need to set up a committee meeting for highway.
Yep. So that's Joe and Sharon?
Right.
Okay. Shall I leave you to set it up off camera after this meeting is over, perhaps? Because frankly, I think all of the committees should be attempting to meet now. And I'll get into that just a little bit when we get down a little further on the agenda. Okay. Thank you, Byron.
Yep.
Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief.
Good evening, Mary. Not too much tonight. The last 2 weeks, we've had a handful of calls, one being that structure fire on Sugarwood Hill Road. And this coming Monday, we're going to start back in our in-person monthly meeting. So we'll be back in person starting Monday.
Okay. Good. Any questions of Chief Clark?
Chris, are you putting together some questions and concerns for the folks that are proposing that 260 unit development on the south end of town?
Yes, we are starting to gather up some questions.
The 4-story construction concerns me, and I think I sent you a text regarding that. So, you know, if you want any help or any input from me, let me know.
Okay. I did get your text. Yes. That was one thing I kind of want to say when we were talking about it earlier tonight. It was mentioned for them to call Rutland City, which is great. We have a great working relationship, but in order to get some equipment for us, like we did when Hampton Inn was built, you know, I prefer it stays with the town for the moment.
Right.
If
Right. Okay. And yes, I think that's a point that the fire committee should also take up. JP and I are on fire committee, so we should set up a meeting before too long. Okay. Thank you, Chief. Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Ed.
We have, calls for service, we're at 20. The reason it's a little low is because Ted was on vacation that week of fire, and I came on last week also. So I suspect this coming week it'll be a little bit higher for a rate of calls of service. And nothing out of the ordinary really happened. We did have one complaint I saw. The state police, somebody got in the Diamond Run Mall with their four-wheelers and were driving up on the inside. So Bill's gonna help me call somebody on that tomorrow to make sure they got it locked up. Other than that, we really don't have anything.
Okay, thanks. Any questions or concerns to bring up with Chief Dumas?
I do have one more thing.
Okay.
At the last meeting, they voted for raises and all that stuff, but it wasn't clear as to when they kicked in. I assumed it was July 1st, but just to make it clear for Bill to put in the notes is what we need.
JP, I think it was your motion.
Right. I thought it was July 1st myself.
Okay. It just wasn't, we didn't mention it. That was a
Right.
statement time for Bill. So I just want to clear up. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. So no other questions for Chief Dumas. You heard your name mentioned as being part of the recreation group for the Pocket Park.
I did.
The thought there was to make sure we had your input on safety and openness of the area in light of some of the not so great uses that have been made in the past there. So that's why your name was included.
I assume that.
Okay.
Mary, I have a question for Chief Dumas.
Okay.
Did I interrupt you, Ed?
No, go ahead, Joe.
Okay. What we voted on last meeting, the basically upgrading and restructuring of the police department and all the changes that are going to take place, when will that take effect?
Well, I came out of CFAC immediately.
Okay.
But the raises don't take an effect until the 1st of July.
Okay, so the money issues will be 1st of July, but like the patrolling and the changing of positions is going to take place right off?
It's already done.
Yep.
Okay, very good. I wasn't real clear what we talked about last week, and I've been thinking about that, and I just wanted to get that straight in my head. Thank you.
No problem, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
John Paul Faignant, Town Health Officer.
So the restrictions on social gatherings are they're changing based on vaccination, who's vaccinated, who's not, who can get together with an unvaccinated person. I'd encourage, it's right on the Department of Health website for the state of Vermont. So as we go through these changes, I just encourage people to check it out and comply with what they're saying. We don't have permission yet to do group outdoor activities, although, as Mike indicated, there are many groups advocating that the governor allow that, but as of yet, he has not. That's all I have at this time.
Okay, questions of our health officer.
I don't have a question, Mary, but I have a concern. Yep. And I thought I'd express it here, and I think that there may be other people do too, but as the vaccination stuff is coming on board and more people, I think that it's imperative that we don't let our guard down. And, we followed what the governor says, but I've been following a little bit online in different places about places like Florida where there is no pandemic. If you talk to people, I have a cousin that lives there and he says there's no pandemic there, but they are seeing some really concerning rises in cases and stuff. And I just want to tell people they really need to stay focused on, mask wearing, social distancing, and vaccinations till we can put this thing to bed, because I'm afraid that if we start getting lax, we're going to be dealing with this a year from now. We're still going to be in the same place.
I agree, Joey. And it's not just spiking in Florida, it's spiking in Rutland County right now. So
yeah. Okay.
The problem is people are assuming that it's over because there's been so much coverage of the vaccines and how effective they are. The majority of the spread is occurring in people under 50 years old. And that's in large part due to the fact that a lot of the population 50 and older has already been vaccinated. So it really is, CDC was talking today about concern for a fourth wave if the increases maintain their 10% rate, which has, I don't even want to tell you the implications that has well into the fall. So Joey's exactly right, and so is Sharon. We need to remain vigilant as best we can.
Okay, thank you all. I got my second shot last week, so.
Did you tolerate it well, Mary, or not?
Yeah, I did. I had a little rash and I took a much longer nap than usual one afternoon, but other than that, I was fine.
Okay, because I've heard I've heard it from some folks have absolutely no reaction to my daughter in Virginia lost a whole weekend from the second shot. She was just lifeless.
Yeah. I was lucky.
Okay.
Okay. Committee meeting updates. Bill has put together the list of topics, and I will say that kind of tying into this, I did the select board training that the Vermont League of Cities and Towns provided online. And one of the points that they made was that we as a town should be reviewing all of our policies annually. So the work that Bill has started doing, getting your various policies out to all of the departments is right on target for what the League of Cities and Towns is suggesting that we do anyway. So please do get your committee meetings set up. I will attend to mine. And except Don on scholarship, and that's another reminder, the deadline for our Rutland Town seniors to apply for scholarships is noontime on Friday, April 23rd. So students, you have a little time left, but no time like the present to start getting those in. And then after we get the applications in, Don, you and I will meet and take it from there on the scholarship committee. Anything else on committee meetings at this point? Okay. Project list, I keep putting this off, so we probably should dedicate our next meeting to going over the list of projects we as select board members would like to see accomplished this coming year. So Bill, if you could put that back on the agenda for next meeting and have all of us kind of think about that a little bit. You remember some of the projects that we have had in the past that we were able to cross off. The Ranbury Road water line, that's done. The Town Hall crosswalk out in front here is done. And something I can't, oh, the Northwood Park Trails is underway. So those are 3 examples of things that we had on our list that we were able to accomplish. So give it some thought and we'll talk about it next week. You can do it as well in your committee meetings to see what your committees have in mind for projects for this coming year. Okay, down under new business, we have done A, we met with the Flatley Company. B, we met with Andres. C, Bill said he's got no more information related to the federal funding that we may be receiving, the CARES Act number, whatever it is. D, town to discuss grand juror appointment. This is one of the offices that has been traditional and used to be an elected position, and now JP did a little research and advises us it's purely an appointed position from the select board. Any thoughts on this?
I would nominate Ed Dumas.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to nominate Ed Dumas for town grand juror. We've kept him muted, so I don't see that he's objecting.
I'm hoping it's nothing too entailed.
Well, when I was grand juror last year, I did absolutely nothing, so. Okay.
Yes.
All right, all in favor of Ed Dumas as grand juror, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Congratulations, Ed.
Congratulations, grand juror.
Okay, item E, board to discuss digitizing department records. Bill had something to say about this, and I think John Paul as well.
I do. Yeah. So we have been working to make information storage and retrieval here more efficient, and we have been able to link the fire department to our server to allow them to store information. That's been going well. So we are we can take the next step, and we can work with the other departments, mainly that'd be rec, highway, and the transfer station, to allow them to use our server to safely store their information. I talked with our IT vendor, Vermont Digital, and for all the software we would need and the labor involved would be about $850 for all 3 departments to be moved to what's called a virtual private network, which would be an internal network to our server that would be on each of their respective computers. And then that way they could store their information here and access it, and it would be backed up along with everything else we have. So that way we can minimize our data loss and would allow them to operate a little more efficiently and been able to use it wherever they are.
So I would move that we move forward with this plan.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for increasing our data storage capacity and security. Any discussion, any further discussion?
Well, the motion was a little more than that. It was to bring all the departments into one area where everything can be accessed, like Bill is suggesting.
Thank you, JP. I knew as I was saying it, it was lesser than what you had said, so thank you.
Sure.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Item F under new business, our tax map maintenance proposal, we've taken care of. Item G, the North Star fireworks contract is approved and signed. B, paving bids, we've already taken care of. I, is there any other new business?
Mary, I got a call from Marty Wasserman regarding the lawn and stuff at the town office. And he's done a little bit of research on talking with Lawn Master about doing some work. And I don't know if he was going to give Bill some information. I don't know if he got to it. If he hasn't, I'll make sure we have it for the next meeting. It's stuff we've been working on over the last year about sprucing up the yard and making it the front lawn look better. So if we don't have that for tonight, I'll make sure we have it for next meeting.
Marty did get that to me. I have about 8 or 10 projects that I have on a list, and I was going to get them through the building committee first before bringing them to the full board, because they're a whole variety of stuff inside and outside. So I wanted the building committee to discuss it. So yeah, Marty brought me all the copies, and I do have them, but I have it on the building committee agenda to discuss rather than doing these projects piecemeal. I wanted to kind of have one discussion and bring it all together as one project.
Okay, thanks. So Don and I will get together with you and we'll set up a meeting and then we'll get that done. Does that work for you, Don?
Let me unmute here. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get together, pick a time.
Okay. Good, thank you. Looks like you guys got quite a bit of work to do, so enjoy. Under old business, we've got a tabled motion. On the guardrail, we've got the sign policy that's also tabled. We've got reclassification of Quarterline Road and any other business.
On that, Mary, on that guardrail thing, we discussed this back in the fall and there was snow on the ground. Byron has done some extensive signage up there. And in the process of doing this, he talked with the folks, I believe, through the state and maybe their design and engineering department. And they recommend not putting guardrails there because we would be putting an immovable object in the possible path of somebody going off the road. And that could, he told us, and Byron relayed that would probably create more bodily injury and more personal injury. So I'm wondering if we should just leave it at the signage and hope that works, because I'm not really in favor of putting any barriers that could injure the public more seriously. I know there are some other intersections that have guardrails, And I don't know if we went out and did that or they were always there. I'm not sure. There mostly is Coal River Road, I believe, in Stratton, where that comes together. But I'm not in favor of putting any guardrails at that spot. And I don't know. I'd like Byron to weigh in on this, and maybe we could get some other expert opinions before we go spending any money up there.
Joey,
So,
I
do you
am
want me to
taking that
put, I know there are other folks who want to weigh in. Should we put this on our agenda for the next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Sharon, maybe we need to get together with Byron sometime between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, because Joey, I agree with you. I haven't heard Ed Square complain about it since he put the signs up, and the signage is, I think, pretty good. So I would concur with you. I don't think my fear would be that somebody.
That makes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That makes three of us, Sharon. So why don't we just? I'd make a motion that we not pursue the guardrail.
Well,
yeah, I would.
Again, in fairness, because I think Ed Squira and Brian Reed should probably, at least be told this is going to be on our agenda. I would suggest we take it off the table and put it on next meeting's agenda.
Yes, I did have a conversation with Ed about this. I told him that state recommendations were against that and that I probably couldn't support it in view of the state recommendation.
Okay.
But you're right. It would be good to give him lots of notice. So.
Okay.
I can put it on the agenda and I can send a message to him to let him know it'll be discussed.
And Brian Reed too. He was
Absolutely.
the other property owner. Yep. Okay, good. Anything
Thank
else? Back to any select board members. Start Sharon Russell. Do you have anything you would like to bring up?
No, I'm good.
Okay. John Paul.
All set.
Joe DiNardo.
All set. Thank you.
Don Chaffee.
Got two small items, Mary.
Okay.
We decided at the last meeting that we would be asking the library representatives, contacting them to attend a meeting. I'd like to know if they've been asked and if we can schedule them for a specific meeting.
Thank you, Don.
And the reason,
I did mention to Bill that you had mentioned that and I remembered that. So Bill's going to be in touch with Eddie Ogrzalik and Anita Dutch, who are our two library reps. And we're going to try and get them in at the next meeting.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. And the last thing is I would like to offer at least a mild apology to my fellow board members for getting a little emotional last week or 2 weeks ago. I guess I let my emotion override my my rational thinking, but I would like to recommend to the Personnel and Finance Committee, especially the personnel part of the committee, that you take up the issue of criteria for appointment to or reappointment to offices in the town, because it seems to me, after witnessing the meeting, that there are various criteria applied to different positions, and I really don't think it's fair to the townspeople in this town not to know what's expected of them, number one, in representing our town on various boards and other functions in the town, and also whether they would be asked to stay in those positions when some are asked and others aren't. I think we need to at least define something that indicates that there's a fairness that goes across the board. And I would just recommend that the Personnel Committee take that up, have a discussion on it, and report back to the board as to what they feel. And thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Don. That was very gentlemanly of you. Appreciate that. we do have emotional moments here on the board, but I think we're going to be working really pretty well together. So thank you. And we will add, Bill, if you could add to the Finance and Personnel Committee the criteria for appointments to various positions in town, I'd appreciate that. JP?
Okay, that's an impossible task because these appointments serve at the pleasure of the select board, and that is it means just what it says. If we perceive that there is a change needed, either because someone has been in a position too long or we have no reason whatsoever, it's our discretion as to who we appoint. There are no standards other than what we decide is appropriate under the circumstances of the appointment. We can have this discussion in committee, but at the end of the day, it's very similar to a presidential appointment. They serve at our pleasure.
Okay. Let me just add that I do know, for example, there are some term limitations when we're talking about outside boards, like for the library board appointments. There are 2-3-year terms, and then the people appointed have to come off. So those things would be good to know.
Right.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just,
Term definition.
I was just referring to the fact that just about every other person that was appointed at the meeting was asked if they wished to stay in their position. And one member was not asked anything. So I understand what you're saying, John Paul, but I guess what that means to anybody in the town is that for any reason you don't like somebody, you can just take them out regardless of whether they're doing a good job or not. And I think that probably affects whether somebody would want to be putting 8 years worth of investment into representing the town as fastidiously as they can, as intelligently as they can, and as proudly as they can, and then not ever being asked if they wish to continue in. Because the fact of the matter was that I didn't intend to stay in longer than one more term in any case, but I never got the chance. So I've spoken and you've spoken, and that's it. Thank you.
Well,
Okay.
we've also learned, speaking to the regional ambulance service position, that there's a conflict. So we can't really have Sharon serve either. We can't have any select board members serve because the meeting night conflicts with a lot of select board meetings. So we're going to have to.
So I spoke to Marty Wasserman because it makes sense to have the emergency management director, if he's interested, serve in that capacity, and he is interested. He would accept assignment to that position, and I think he would represent the town very well. So I would move we appoint Marty Wasserman.
Okay.
So we don't miss any
I will second
meetings.
that appointment. I will second that appointment, Mary.
Okay, thank you, Don. Sharon, this means, and we've had discussions, this means you're not going to be the regional ambulance service rep, right?
If you look at what happened that night, one, I said no.
Okay.
And so, this thing has gotten way out of hand. I'm sorry. I just not comfortable with the whole thing.
Well, I think we're fixing it, Sharon.
I hope so.
Okay, so we've got a JP's motion to appoint Marty Wasserman. Don is seconded. Are you ready for the question? This is regional ambulance rep.
I would just like to say that it's been an honor and it's been a privilege, and I've enjoyed every single one of the more than 100 meetings that I attended representing the town of Rutland on the regional ambulance service. It's a wonderful organization. I know Marty will do a good job, and I know that he will carry on with the same pride that I have in the town of Rutland. So
Good. Thank you, Don, for your service. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries, and Marty Wasserman is our rep to the regional ambulance service. Do we have any other business from any select board member? We'll start with select board. And Don, you've had your two. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
Sharon, you just lit up. Does that mean you want to say something?
No, I don't know why I lit up, but
It looks like Byron might have something.
Did the documents from the railroad make it into your packet?
No.
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 Okay, there's a sitting on my desk. Maybe I'll have to get that into you next time, or make sure it gets there. The document has a lot of whereas and wherefores on it, and it has to do with cutting those trees at the cemetery by the town office, and setting up a flagger and that sort of thing. So because of the length, it's the 2-page document. I just thought instead of just signing it and getting the project done, I should run that by the board first.
Okay.
So I'll get those into you. Apparently it didn't get done, I guess. So.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Looks like Marty Wasserman has his hand raised. Marty, what you got?
I just want to thank the board for their nominating me and approving me for that position to the regional ambulance. And I hope to do a good job, as good as Don's done over the years. I appreciate JP and I appreciate Don's support, both. So thank you guys, and I'll be looking to you for help.
Okay. Thank you for your willingness to serve, Marty. Is there any other business to be brought before the select board tonight?
Yes, one more, Mary. I would like to wish all my fellow board members and wish all of the members of Rutland Town a blessed and a happy Easter.
Good. Thank you, Don. The same to you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion's made and seconded. And there's non-debatable. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, folks. Thank you all. Have a good evening.